Welcome to the Dental School Guide podcast, your ultimate destination for all things dentistry. I'm Dr. Tanner Townsend, your guide through the complex world of dental education. Join us as we uncover the secrets of acing dental school admissions, navigating residency programs, and exploring career opportunities. Please share and enjoy. Real quick, just wanted to make all you pre-dental students out there aware of a resource. If you've ever been worried about getting into dental school or are wanting to get into that school of your dreams, then you definitely want to check out a program called Dental School Guide. In the program, we walk you through how to save money, time, and heartache when applying to dental school. There's so much fluff out there when it comes to resources for getting into school, and we are streamlining all of that. With our comprehensive digital course, expert mentorship, and personalized application review services, you'll have everything you need to stand out to admission committees. Take advantage of this amazing resource that will help you increase your chances of getting into dental school. You'll want to check out dentalschoolguide.com. Check it out. Welcome back to the Dental School Guide podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Tanner Townsend, and today we are here with Iprepdental and Shani. Shani, welcome to the show, and thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Well, Shani, there's so many different DAT prep courses and programs out there, but tell us a little bit about the background behind Iprepdental and how you guys got started and kind of the inspiration behind it.
Absolutely, with pleasure. So first of all, thank you for having me here. I'm very excited to share all the information about Iprepdental. So Iprepdental essentially is my first baby. I started the company about 15 years ago. As a dental student, in a matter of fact. I was in my end of my first year in dental school, and I was approached by many predental that asked me if I can help them study for the DAT. And I said, why not? Extra job, a little bit of pocket money to a broke dental student. I thought it would be a great idea. So I started tutoring pre-dental students for the DAT using, back in the day, it was mainly Kaplan, I would say, books that we were using. And very quickly, from word to mouth, I started having from 1 to 2 students, 20 and 30.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that I guess I'm doing something right because 15 years ago, national average was around 16, 17. That would have been a sport that student got into dental school. And my students used to score already like 20, 21, 15 years ago. And that was very, very, very unusual. And people started, saying, oh, if you study with Shani, she gives you a lot of tricks out there. You'll score very well. And I can even go a little... previously to that, I remember that when I was studying for the DAT before going to dental school, I basically didn't even know where to start. So I, like a good, geek, sat down and read the whole Campbell biology book, the whole general chemistry book that I had from my Gen Chem 1 and 2, a whole organic chemistry book. And with a lot of work and effort, I got 25, and that was 16 years ago. And back in the day, that was probably, 99 percentile. And I remember that when I went to dental school, the first day, they told us, congratulations, welcome. Your class average is an 18. And I was like shocked that the class average is an 18, because I did a quick math, and I said, if I'm sitting here with 25, there's someone here with a 12. I was like, how the average is an 18? So I realized that how unusual my score was if the class average, and it was a very competitive dental school, was an 18. And I also realized that my students are scoring extremely well. So very quickly, and it really happened within, I would say, about 12 months that I started having about 100 students. And it completely took over every minute that I had of free time, and even not free time. It almost took out of my, sleeping time at the time. And I realized how passionate I am and how excited I am about it. And I realized that that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I remember when I was telling, my professors in dental school that that's what I'm going to do, they all looked at me like, you're insane. Why would you do that versus practicing dentistry? I told them because I love it. And the joke was that when I was a child, a very young child, I think when I was like 6, 7 years old for second grade, I always told people that my dream is to be a teacher. And I think I never went along with it because, I fell in love with sciences and, dentistry was just a right path to go into. But I always wanted to be a teacher. And I think that I always tell people, like, people to ask me if I regret going to dental school. And I always tell them no, because I probably needed that to become a DAT teacher. So, long story short, from that point on, I decided that that's what I'm going to do. Everyone told me, you'll change your mind, you'll go back to dentistry. Never happens. Fast forward 16 years after. But ever since, I have got so much satisfaction and so much excitement and joy from helping students. By now, thousands of students. I stopped counting. Over the years, become dentist, and today majority of my students are already practicing dentists, practicing specialized dentists, and it's so rewarding and so exciting that almost in every state that I go to, I find dentist. My husband is a medical doctor. I went with him the other day in the state of Indiana. We're actually from Florida. We were walking in the hospital and someone approached me and said, "You are my DAT teacher." And it's like so nice that no matter, it happened to me in California, it happened to me in New York, happened to me everywhere. It's so nice that people recognize me and come to me. Even my sister-in-law went to a dentist the other day and she told her something about me and she was my DAT teacher. So it's so much fun that it's like such a small world, and knowing that by now I help thousands of students. So how come all my students score so well? So here's a secret. It's not really a secret, but it's a secret approach. And the approach is that I has always been a very good test taker ever since I'm young. It's just, I think and I tell students, it's just a skill. It's not an IQ. It's not I'm smarter than anyone else. It's just a skill. Some people can sing, some people can dance. I cannot do either. I can take tests very well. So, it's just a skill that you have. And what is a good test taker? It's not necessarily the smartest person in the room. It's a person that knows how to eliminate answer choices, is a person that understands what they're looking for in the question and basically pick up on the concept they're testing. Do not focus on the actual wording, more on the concept. And basically, what are you trying to ask here? Just we'll throw a concept from chemistry. This question is all about carbocation stability. It doesn't matter which molecule they're showing you. It doesn't matter. It's just the concept here that is important. And the moment you realize that to look at questions from a concept perspective, it makes your life a lot easier, because then you realize what will be the right answer because you're figuring out the concept. So that's one approach that I'm really emphasizing when I'm working with students, to always look at the question and ignore the details. Let's focus on the concept. What they're asking, why do you think they asked that? You know all the topics on the exam. Which one of those do you think is being asked here? What's principle? What exception? So that really helps students. But in addition to that, I always like to simplify things, okay? And a lot of time, I can look at a very complex process and really figure out how to get the final answer, not necessarily the right way. To be honest with you, it's not the right way, but it will give you the right answer, because I'm very good in taking like little pieces and combining them together. So it works very, very well in multiple choice questions, because you do not need to show your work. Your work, I always tell my students, the way I teach you, if you're going to do my method in your general chemistry or organic chemistry or even math courses, you will fail. And the reason is that the professor will tell you, you copied from someone. You have all the right answers, but the way you got it is incorrect. So it will not work on test because you were just jumping so many steps. We're not showing our work, but we're getting the right answer. And I'm very good in finding those things. So for example, a lot of questions in general chemistry, require something that is called an ice table, that you start doing the concentration before, during, and I do it in literally one step. I skip all the calculation and you will get the right answer. It's not the right way to do that, by the way. And it only works like 99% of the time, but I'm comfortable the 1% that it will not work for you, because I will allow you to do this question that for most students will take about, let's say, 2 minutes on the DAT, which you don't have 2 minutes on the DAT, in about 10, 15 seconds. So the advantage I give my students, not only that they get the right answer, also timing, which is a huge factor on the DAT. I noticed over the years that one of the biggest concerns that students have when they take the DAT is that they run out of time. And with all the tricks and with all the shortcuts that I'm teaching students, majority of our students finish the entire survey of natural sciences about 10 to 15 minutes prior to the end of the time. So not only they finish the entire section, they have time to go over marked questions and questions that they feel that we want to revisit or not sure or guessed or need just a little more, look at that question. And that's what basically create the difference between students that score 17 and 18 to someone score 21, 22, because a lot of time, the differences between you and me just sometimes 2 or 3 questions. It's not that someone who got, 22 is so much smarter than someone who got an 18 on a DAT. Majority of the time is the difference of 3, 4 questions. And the fact that my students are able to A, answer all the questions, and B, revisit all those questions, and with tricks, get the right answer, really give them a competitive advantage. So that's, I think, why I started teaching for the DAT, to give students that competitive advantage. And that attests to why our students scoring so well on DAT.
Well, that's wonderful. I think that is a excellent approach to have it be more skill-based than more content-based. I feel like a lot of the students we work with, they kind of get bogged down in the weeds of the content and knowing the content. And it's like, no, you almost need more of just to know how to beat the test. That's what you need to focus on, is beating the test. And I think from your description, I think that's what you guys are doing, which is I really like. In terms of like curriculum and study plan, oftentimes dental students and pre-dental students are very type A. They're looking for that, give me the roadmap and help me get there from A to Z. How does Iprepdental handle their study plan? Is it like a formal PDF study plan that they follow? If they were to sign up for your service, what could they kind of expect to see on their dashboard?
So we went through a lot of evolutions in the past 16 years. When I started teaching for the DAT, again, it was one-on-one private tutoring. Then within, I think, 3 to 4 years, started doing small groups. And then I did that for about 5 to 7 years. And those groups became bigger and bigger, to the point that each class I had about 200 to 300 students in a class.
Whoa.
And that was only in the state of Florida. And then very quickly, I started having people from other states flying to Florida for 2 months to take my course. And when we became to the point that I couldn't accommodate anymore, because we were also doing Zoom. But then I was sitting literally with 10 laptops doing Zooms, because each computer could not accommodate the amount of hundreds of students that we had on each Zoom. I said, okay, I need to figure out, I cannot divide myself. And I was teaching probably 12 to 16 hours a day. I still don't understand how I was doing it. I was like on protein bars 10 minutes before each class. I realized it's not a sustainable lifestyle for me. I was getting really exhausted and sick and couldn't handle it anymore. I realized I need to make it an online course. So about 4 to 5 years ago, we made the course online. And one of the biggest requests that I had from students is a daily schedule. What was very, very important for me, and that's what I did when I was teaching the course in person, is making sure that no students wake up in the morning and ask the magic question, what am I supposed to do today? I hate when students say that. I need you to know what to do today. Because the moment you ask yourself, what am I supposed to do today? You have no direction, you have no goal, you have no structure, and you probably will not do what you were supposed to do that day. The moment you're told what to do that day, and it's broken down to you in a very systematic way, with a daily schedule that built the course in a very unique way that I'll also explain to you how it's being taught, because that's another approach that I have to education. We make sure that for the 2 months of the course, from day 1 to day 60, you have a daily schedule that each day tell you exactly to the page number what you suppose. So you need to read pages 8 to 12. You need to take that quiz, that test, that everything is to the T. And I know that if you're strictly following that, I will get you to a 20 plus by the end of the course, which is what all our students are expected to score by the end of the course. So it's even to the point that I'm telling you what you're supposed to score on a quiz on week 1 versus week 2 versus week 6. Obviously, I'm building your knowledge, so my expectations are very different. But also what's unique about our curriculum, not only that it's a daily schedule, I believe that you first need to learn the material and then to test the material. That's why I think that we're the only course in the nation that do not even do a diagnostic exam. Because to be honest with you, I really don't care what you know before taking the course. Makes no difference to me. I actually think that it will be very embarrassing for most students to do a diagnostic when they start the course. Will only affect their self-esteem and confidence, and that's the last thing I want. I actually, with the approach that you don't need to know anything before coming to my course. I had multiple students that never even taken organic chemistry prior to taking our DAT course and have scored over 20 on the DAT in organic chemistry. I had students that came with Bio 1, Bio 2, never taken any advanced biology, scored over 20. I'm taking the responsibility of teaching you everything you need to excel on the DAT. Very DAT focused, very high yield focused question and topics. But I do not think we should start practicing before knowing the exam. I do not like the approach like most students do. Start studying for the DAT with test banks, basically. Let's do as many questions as I can. I learn from my mistakes. Learning from my mistakes, that's how I'm going to learn the material. I don't like that approach. It might work for a lot of people. I don't like that approach. Let's master the concept. Don't do any practice exam. Let's master the concept. And once you know it, let's start doing practice questions. So the first months of the course, my students don't do any practice exams. They only learn the material to master it. The second months of the course, they do every single day a practice test and gradually go from a minimum score that we're starting at 18 to over 20 by the end of the course. And for me, I don't see a point of asking a question that you have no idea about and you'll just memorize it, because what will happen, you're going to learn the question, you're not going to learn the concept. And that's exactly what students are doing. So people will say, next time I'll see this compound with this reagent, I'll remember that that's a product. But then you change the molecule just slightly, they're not even realizing it. It's the same concept. They have no idea what to do. So if they don't see the exact same question again, they have no idea. Even in biology, they know such a specific question, they don't understand the concept. Then when you try to link to concept in a conceptual question, or when you're trying to basically ask it in a certain point of view, most students will tell you, I never learned that. And when you tell them that it's exactly the same concept, they have no idea what you're talking about because they memorize that particular concept. So that's why it's so important for me, understanding versus memorization. Most of my students do not memorize anything for DAT. We understand. We go to the why. We go to the logic behind it. Because I feel that when you understand something with the stress of the DAT, and it's very stressful to take the DAT. It's a very stressful day, I have to say. And I understand that. I've been there, done it. You're very likely to blank out. You're very likely to forget things when you're under stress. But when you understand things, you're a lot less likely to forget because it's not something that is memorized. It's something that is understood. And because of that, I think that students are doing significantly better because even under stress and pressure and question of being asked a little differently, they're still able to understand that it's the same question, just wearing a different outfit, but it's the same concept. And I'm going back to concept and not to questions.
I like it. I like it. So in terms of study materials, oftentimes students really want to know, okay, well, what study materials, if I sign up for Iprepdental or another DAT service, what can I expect in terms of materials to prepare me? So it sounds like you have tons of videos explaining the why and the understanding the material really well, and test banks and things like that. But kind of, if you don't mind going into details of if a
Course.
student signs up, what do they get? Do they get flashcards? Do they get 300 questions? They get two full length practices. What's kind of included with that service?
Course, of course. So the first thing that I made when I started tutoring is I made notes for the DAT. I literally sat down and wrote for each subject on the DAT. I wrote handwritten notes, and you can read today, thousands of students, and they loved it. It was handwritten notes. It was each student would get a binder for each subject, for chemistry, for organic, for biology, that had my handwritten notes. At some point I was like, okay, I need to upgrade those notes. They've been handwritten and made the copy probably for like 10 years. So what I did, I typed them, okay, because I was like, okay, we need to go to get a little more advanced. So today there are types and they're actually books, so they look a lot more formal, but they're my original handwritten notes that basically for each subject is a paragraph. I basically, sorry for the term, but cut the bullshit, go to that's what you need to know.
Mhm.
Not the before, not the after, not the what. That's the concept you need to know here. So whenever you see this topic, if you know that concept, that's what you'll be asked on the DAT. So for every subject of the DAT, we have its own book that you get from us, handwritten. I know that many times we were thinking to even make it an online, but I'm so traditional, and I don't know if the young students are still traditional like me, but I like to highlight and I like to circle and I like to take my own notes. So I insisted that we'll stay hard copy books and not make them digital, because I do like the physical books. I like to study, to highlight, to make notes, sticky note, whatever you need, so you can go back to it. I don't know. I've never been a digital person. If students love it, they can definitely give me, in my suggestion box to tell me to make it digital. But right now, you will get a physical book that has all the content for the course. Along with the books, I have videos. So you basically see very short videos for each topic. There's an individual video. And basically you take the notes in your book for everything I say, but everything I say co-line with the books. And I just show you a lot more examples. Our books purposely do not contain any practice questions. Just so the nature of students liking to transfer books, to sell books, to give books. So if someone wants a question, they need to sign up to our course. And basically, I want to give a competitive advantage for our students. I know how great our questions are, how accurate they are, in sense of how they mimic the actual concept asked on the DAT. And I really want to give that competitive advantage to our students. So after you do read a chapter, you watch the video, you take a quiz to make sure that you master that concept. But again, it's just a short quiz. It's not a full-length exam, because we start taking full-length exam, as I described before, only at week 5, after we mastered everything. And I want your first score on the DAT to be an 18, not a practice test that you took and you got a 12 and you're like, you know,
Yeah.
how far am I from my goal? I want to show you that already in week 5, you're so close to your goal of getting over 20. So I would say majority of our students already in week 5 scoring an 18.
Well, that's wonderful. And so
Yeah.
you said, I believe in the beginning, that your program is typically 60 days out, right? So when do you recommend that students typically should start studying for the DAT? How much, that's something that we get question-wise all the time. Well, how much time do I need? And we find that it's very variable student to student, because sometimes the self-paced part of it is challenging for the student. They kind of go slower than they need. And that's where I loved how you had said previously with your study plans, if you stick to this plan, we pretty much promise you that you're going to score very high. But what have you seen in your experience?
That's such a good question. I actually think that I came up with almost a magic recipe. And again, this is an ideal student that's had no reason to pause a course. And again, things happen sometimes. We had
Mhm.
students with family emergency and things happen in life, and they freeze the course and they end up taking the course. We provide 90-day access to the course because we do understand that some students need more than 60 days. Okay, so that's another feature that I completely understand, that you might need an extra month to the course, even though I want you to finish in 60 days. You might need 90 days. I didn't create it to encourage you to do it in 90 days. I did it for emergency purposes. And again, we work with special circumstances and we extend courses for students that have special circumstances, but I don't want anyone to be there. So I'll talk about the ideal student that will take the course and could study every single day and nothing happened, and they're healthy and their family members are healthy and everything is great in their life and they can focus for 60 days on the DAT. The magic number is 10 weeks. I found over the years that students that study less than 10 weeks do not study enough. And students that study more than 10 weeks tend to get burnt out, overexhausted, and start basically scoring very interestingly lower than they would have after 10 weeks. Because what happens, they start taking some breaks. They feel that they need to reward themselves for studying for so long. They even sometimes take a mini vacation or start going out with their friends, trying to go back to their routine. When I said go back to the routine, I'm not playing games with my students. And I always tell my students, if you're signing up this summer, you want to go to camp, you're not coming to my course. Okay.
Mhm.
It's probably the worst and the hardest course you'll ever take in your life as an undergraduate student. It's will be the most, I think I am the most challenging course out there. I think I'm the most demanding course out there, but this is my recipe to success. So when you sign up for my course, the only thing you do is you sleep, you eat, and you study. Your social life will be on hold for 2 months. And I always tell my students, this is a great opportunity to test your friendships, because any friend that wants you to be successful and want you to be happy and want you to accomplish your dreams will be supportive of those 2 months. And those friends that are just there for fun and will get upset with you that you're not partying while you're studying for the DT, maybe it's a great time to say goodbye to them. So again, unless it's an emergency, unless it's something that cannot be delayed or postponed, the only thing you do is you sleep, you eat, and you study for the DAT. With that being said, some students have to work and there's no other options. And I understand reality. We all living in, connected to reality, and understand that some students don't have the privilege of someone helping them pay for the course and pay for their financial means. It's possible to work and take our course. However, it just requires more discipline. So you will be studying probably before you go to work or after you go to work. You might be waking up a little bit earlier. You might be giving up on a lot of, fun stuff you used to do, including going on your phone on social media. We disconnect ourselves from social media when we're in my course, and we only focus on DAT. With that being said, at the end of the 8 weeks, over 90% of our students score over 20 on their final practice test on the full lengths. And then they have my blessings to take the DAT. And normally I recommend to them to take it about a week to 2 weeks after the end of the course, because very naturally, some quizzes that you've taken 2 months ago are not fresh in your mind. And even questions that I wrote in the quizzes and the first day that you take the course are DAT-oriented questions that I would like you to revisit. And therefore, I tell students in the last 2 weeks, you just revisit questions that you previously have taken. You do a little polishing on, certain chapters that I also teach students how to color code notes. So there's a certain colors that we always revisit in their notes. So that's a color you're going to visit in those 2 weeks. Those are things that you always struggled with. So we'll give them a very special color coding. We'll revisit those in the last 2 weeks. And then when we full force and we're excited because we've been scoring 20s on practice exams and we feel that it's very close to the real score, with that excitement and with that energy, we're going to go and take the DAT. So 10 weeks is, I find, the magic number for students that have been very consistent and very, attentive to their studying for those 10 weeks. If you're a casual learner and devote to the DAT 3 days a week, if you're making the DAT a hobby,
Mhm.
you're not going to go to dental school. And I always tell the students, if that's your hobby to study for the DAT, you're not going to dental school. Your score will be looking accordingly. It's not the type of exam that you can study 2 days a week, 3 days a week, only on Saturdays, only on Sunday. It's not going to work. It's either all in or out. It's just, unfortunately,
What it
don't
is.
make it a hobby. Don't make it a hobby. It's the DT is not your friend. We're not going to travel with it for 6 months. 10 weeks, give it all, say goodbye. And I always tell students, what's 10 weeks? You just spent 4 years in undergraduate,
Mhm.
right? To go to dental school, right? You already spent 4 years. I'm asking you for 8 weeks. Why am I asking? In the grand scheme of things, do you think? And I always tell them, have you ever met one of my students that told you, I wish I didn't study hard for 10 weeks? I regret studying so hard and getting over 20. I really regret those 10 weeks. I wish I was studying not as hard. Said no student ever.
Yeah.
So
I
I never
100%
had
agree with that.
I wish I was studying less, you know? It's like, I wish I was getting a lower score. Said no one ever. So,
So
and I don't think that's too much to ask to study for 8 weeks.
yeah, I don't think it's too much to ask for to study for 8 weeks. And I think it's interesting when we work with students, we see a wide range of opinions, and we have our own philosophies on like how often you should be studying. And we are very much aligned with you of like, you really need to have it be you're all in on this. So from your perspective and what you've seen, when do you feel like in the ideal world is the best time for a student to start preparing for this test? Is it after, if they're in school still, is it after they're done with the semester, or is it on the tail end of a semester that they have a lighter load, or is it, hey, you need to be out of school and you need to dedicate 2 months to this and knock it out? And then timing during the year. Do you take it during Christmas, before the year before you apply, or do you do it in April, May? So from your experience with students, what have you seen that's been successful?
Again, I've been asked this question because, again, it's one of the magic questions. How long,
How
when,
long, when? Yeah, all those good
how should
questions.
I study for? When should I take the DAT? Those are real magic questions when it comes to the DAT world. And I do have my input on it. And again, nothing is ideal in life. I'm always talking about the ideal student. Most students are not ideal students and they still go to dental school, so it's okay.
Mhm.
I always tell students, I don't want that after I speak, you'll look at yourself and be like, I'm not the student that you just described. It's fine. So many of those that I didn't describe still go to dental school. And I always tell students, and I really want to emphasize that before I answer when to take the DAT, because it's so important for me. I don't want anyone to think that they're not good enough to go to dental school.
Mhm.
And I have proven that many, 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 many times that all you need in order to go to dental school is dedication, is the passion to go to dental school, and the willing to sacrifice.
Mhm.
How smart you are, honestly, it's
It's
not
not
that
that
important.
important. It's your dedication and how much you're willing to put on the table.
I really see so many students that have been told by advisors, faculty members, and even sadly, sometimes by their own parents, that they don't have what it takes to go to dental school.
Mhm.
And it's been such a pleasure of mine to have those students go to dental school and prove everyone wrong. And I have hundreds, unfortunately, of those examples. And I'm like shivering when I'm telling you that because
Mhm.
I'm still in touch with some of those students. And we're talking about, those students completed dental school over 6 and 7 and 8 years ago, and now they're practicing dentists, and they're still in touch with me because they keep telling me that I'm the only person that believed in them and told them they're going to dental school. And I told them, sit down, follow my curriculum, you're going to dental school. I was as involved as writing and helping them write the personal statement and helping them prepare for the dental school interview, just because I knew that they have a unique story, just because I knew that sometimes they didn't have the maturity to study in undergraduate or didn't have the right studying skills to
Mhm.
score well. But I knew that if we can prove dental school otherwise, look at my DAT, it's a standardized exam, compare me apples to everyone else. I could have taken much more challenging faculty members. I was a very smart undergraduate student. I always took the easiest professors.
Yeah.
I got straight A's. It was easy. I always made sure before every class I signed up to go to my upper classmates and ask them, which professor should I take? I always got straight A's. I took the easiest professors. And some professor I would have never got an A with them.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter what I would do in their class. So someone that has a lower GPA than me doesn't mean that they're not as smart as me. So, but let's go back to your question, when to take the DAT. Okay, ideal student will take the DAT at the end of their junior year. The reason is that generally speaking, by the end of the junior year, you've taken multiple prerequisites biology courses, you completed your Gen Chem 1 and 2, and you likely have taken at least organic 1. This is a very good foundation to approach the DAT when you have completed multiple biology courses, including upper division biology, not just by 1 and 2. You've been introduced to maybe genetics, biochemistry, cell molecular, just courses, that anatomy, just courses that will give you a broader overview of biology. Gen Chem 1 and 2 is a must, and at least organic 1, I always say. If you can throw in organic 2 to there, you're in very good foundation to start studying for the DAT. Also, why the end of your junior year? Because we always apply to dental school the summer before we want to start dental school. So ideal student will complete their bachelor degree in May and will start dental school that summer. So ideally, that's a transition the dental school want to see. They do not recommend a gap year. If you do take the gap year, again, don't freak out, not the end of the world, but get advice of what to do in that gap year just to show that you're still on the track to go to dental school. But an ideal student will not take a gap year and will graduate at the senior year and immediately start dental school. An ideal student then will apply at the summer before that. Application, generally speaking, open in June. We need to start application when the application opens. Every year they change it a little bit. Generally speaking, it's June. When the application open, we will apply. It doesn't mean that we need our DAT score then. We can apply and complete our application without our DAT score. Dental school interviews, generally speaking, do not start until August. That means that it's very safe to take our DAT even in July or by the end of July or even the first week of August, because ideally our goal is to get an interview prior to December. Why? Because the first day the dental schools notify of student acceptance is in December. That's when they normally interview the first batch of students, and that's where they try to fill up the majority of seats in dental school. So if you have a pre-December interview, you have better chances of going to dental school simply because you're competing over a larger number of seats in dental school. It doesn't mean that if you have an interview after December, you're not getting in. The thing is that now you're competing over very limited available seats. So now you need to look a lot more competitive and to be a lot more likable by the dental schools to get in. So ideally, what I want for you is to get an interview by December. So ideally, you want to apply in June, take your DAT, I always say latest by the first week of August. So what time frame is that? Why it works so well? Because most students finish their semester in May. I normally tell them, on a Thursday or Friday, take the weekend off. And then on Monday or Tuesday, start studying for the DAT. And that will give you now 60 days until beginning of July, end of July, or latest first week of August to take the DAT. I find the students that take the DAT after the end of August tend not to be in the first batch of interviews, as I described before. And again, it's not the end of the world, but we're trying to make you as competitive as possible. So that's the best advice, to be competitive. What's the disadvantage of what I just said? There's no room for retake in that path, okay? So if you do need to retake the DAT, I'm not giving you any room to retake the DAT, because if you're taking it the first time in August, the second time you take it, considered a little late. Again, it's not the end of the world. Do you have examples of students that happened to them, that took the DAT in August, needed to retake it, and still made it to that year's cycle? Yes. But again, in an ideal world of you being the most competitive as possible, that's not the right track. So to avoid that, what a lot of students do, they take the DAT already in March. Then they're giving themselves a little time for, if I need to retake it, I can still take it again and still be early. What's the disadvantage of what I just offered? Many students, it's during the time that they're taking their semester and other courses. A lot of time, even if you take very light schedule, you still need to devote time, because I'm always telling the DAT cannot compromise your GPA. With all due respect, you cannot come with a killer DAT and say, oh, you see those F that semester? I was studying for the DAT. That excuse is not going to work. So I still need really good grades. So If you're that person that have very good time management skills, organizational skills, and really taking classes that require very little attention and time, you could probably do that. Have seen students do that. At the same time, it's not for everyone. A lot of students get very overwhelmed between the DAT. And sometimes when you try to do too many things, nothing works. And then you really, impact your GPA and your DAT is nothing to write home about. And you're like, I do not recommend that. So again, ideally, and that's when the majority of students take the DAT, will be between May and August. And that's when all the prometric centers are super full. So if someone wants an advice, if that's the time you plan to take your DAT,
Schedule early.
schedule ahead of time, because I always get those phone calls. There's no prometric centers available in the next 2 months. And then I have students start traveling to take the DAT. And that, I think, adds so much stress that you're not sleeping in your own bed the night before your DAT, and you just traveled something to a different state, to a different county. So to avoid that additional stress, sign up for the DAT advance, because you're not the only one taking the DAT between May and August.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that. I think students sometimes they don't really plan that part out, or they get near the end and then they say, "Oh, I want to reschedule my tests because I don't feel ready." And then you're like, "Well, now I don't know if you're going to be able to do the day that you need, or you're going to have to change locations." So I think that is a definite hurdle that a lot of students that we see face. Now, in terms of, we talked about how you have 90-day access to the course. And for the students that want to know more, that want to get in touch with you, one, how do they do that? And what can they expect price-wise for the course?
That's such a good question. So very luckily, we went under a new management in the past 16 years, because ever since I started the course 15 years ago, the course has been at 1,700, just because we had so much overhead in the company, to be honest with you, that we were just not able to reduce that price in any way, shape, or form. We had a contract with management that was demanding so much, and to be able to get it going, we were locked at that price for 15 years. And then luckily, our contract with them ended, and we were able to hire a new management in the past 4 months. And we were able, since November, to lower our course price to $595,
Oh, that's
which
great.
something that I always wanted, to make the course a lot more accessible and a lot more available, because I always felt that there was a disadvantage that only those who could afford it would take our course and get that competitive advantage. And that's so far from my personal goal. I really actually wanted to help the other students that cannot afford to go to dental school. And so we do our share in donating, hundreds of courses every year. Thank God we can, to underrepresented students and to low income students. And that's something that I take a lot of pride that we're capable of donating those courses. But I also wanted to make it more accessible to those who can afford to purchase. So right now our course is $595, and even that is in payments, to try to make it a little easier. To get in touch with us, there's actually so many ways. So we have an office, and we have our Joanna, our office manager, that work there. She's there Monday to Friday from 9 to 5, and she's there answering questions. She's there doing, so much of the back office work. She's in Florida. I'm actually not in Florida. She's in Florida, in our office in Florida. And she answers everyone questions. So one way is just to call. And it's so nice that a person answered the phone and answer your question and knows everything. Joanna actually has been a previous student. She took the DAT. She got accepted to dental school. She's been in the process. She knows exactly. And I really wanted to take someone that can relate to students, someone who's been there, done it, and know exactly what they went through. So Joanna is an expert in answering question. Joanna also was one of my top students. She got 30 in biology. So yes, so I always let Joanna answer biology questions to students, and it's really, really nice. But other than that, social media. So we're very big on social media. To be honest, we're probably the only company out there that do not have any marketing assistants. And I love the fact that, we have over close to 7,000 followers on Instagram that are following. And a lot of them are past students that still hang around and still want to see what's going on. And it's so nice. I'm so close to so many of my students. And that's another advantage that students have taken our course. All the students in our course have my personal phone number.
Wow.
Literally my personal phone number. And they can, not only they do text me and ask me question and call me and cry to me. And that's something that I love. I love giving my phone number to students because I do want them to feel comfortable to ask me question, to feel that, especially today with all the technologies that we talked about, the AI, the digital, I want them to know that there's a human behind it and that will answer the question. So we have Joanna, we have myself, and we have other people on the website that answer question constantly. We still need some help and support. But social media is a great way. I'm not the only one going on social media, but someone from our team will go on social media, and I'm at least 2-3 times a day on social media, and the other people are at least 20 times on social media. So someone will answer your questions on social media. You get a lot of messages with questions. But I think that if you want a more detailed response, the best way is just to call the office and to present your special case, because everyone has a unique story, of I haven't taken that course, I've done that, my GPA, my DAT, I've taken the DAT, I need to retake the DAT. And again, at the end, if you want to go to dental school, students against all odds going to dental school, okay?
Yeah.
With giving very little information at several years ago, a student, I'll try to give as little information as I can, but he came to me at the end of the course and said, super smart student, I'll need a little help with my application. And I said, okay, no problem. I always help students. You want me to read your personal statement? You want me, to help you explain something? I had a lot of students who did a lot of stupid stuff in undergraduate and like, Shani, how do I explain my DUI? How do I explain? We explained, okay, we were all young and immature and it's okay. We can grow out of it. He's like, no, it's a little more complicated. I was like, okay, listen, I heard it all. What? I was like, I just got out of prison. So I was like, who did you kill? I was like, I didn't kill, but I did something really bad. So long story short, he was a drug dealer. And long story short, he went to dental school.
Wow.
So I always say, if I got him into dental school and he's today a practicing very good dentist, we can get anyone into dental school. You need the will, you need the, you need you need to be, to have the passion, you need to have the focus and the most complex stories I got into dental school. So if you have an F on your transcript, take a deep breath. Nothing
We can work around it.
It's okay. It's okay, because I have so many students that say, I just failed the organic chemistry. I'll never go to dental school. That happened. I'll never go to. And there's way around it. Some cases, yes, I tell students you need, a 1-year master program, and I recommend excellent master programs. For some students, they say, let's kill the DAT. For some students, they say, let's get a lot of, dental experience. Let's do a lot of research. Let's do, other things to highlight. And let's choose dental schools that's what's important for them also, So then I'm saying there's a lot of students that against all odds went to dental school, but they really wanted and they worked really, really hard. And we're talking about students that deserve to go to dental school. They're amazing, 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 individuals that sometimes, made some wrong choices earlier in their life and, and change, and people change. So, so I just want anyone that wants to go to dental school to keep fighting for it, because it's doable and it's possible. And don't let anyone, including your own parents, tell you cannot go to dental school. If you want to go to dental school, just make it happen. You need to work really, really hard. I'm not promising here, a fairy tale, a shortcuts or an easy ride. But if you're willing to work hard, you'll make it to dental school. You're really going to make it to dental school. And I think that's super exciting for those who want it.
And we 100% agree. I think it is possible. We've worked with so many students that it seems out of reach, and then it's always possible. It just requires you to put forth the effort and put it all on the table to make it happen. So Shani, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We've really enjoyed talking with you and hearing more about Iprepdental. And just learning more about it. We will have the link to the show, or the link to your website, in the show notes. And we are excited to see where you take Iprepdental in the future, and help
Yeah.
watch you get students into dental school through the DAT portion. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. And we will talk to you all later. That's all for today's episode of the Dental School Guide podcast. We hope you've gained valuable insights and inspiration to fuel your journey into dentistry. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more expert advice, inside tips, and engaging discussions. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. It would mean the world to us. Until next time, keep smiling, keep striving, and remember, your dental dreams are closer than you think. Thanks for tuning in to the Dental School Guide podcast.